everyone. Welcome to 33 Voices. Chase and I are delighted to be with Brandner, the mastermind behind Startup San Diego Week here, and specifically the pioneer of Go San Diego speaker series today. As you're looking back on the event, what are you most proud of today?
Okay, so just to clarify, I'm definitely not the mastermind of the whole week. There were a lot of people involved in that, so I just want to kind of pay homage to that. But the day of hashtag Go San Diego, which is actually part of the EDC's effort in engaging the community at large and a community of entrepreneurs, is focused really at looking at innovation from a macro perspective and its implication towards the startup culture, as well as how we can look at the startup ecosystem and apply that kind of mindset and those lessons in other areas that don't necessarily go that route. I think the lean principles, for instance, can be applied across the board in many different industries. I joke and say I'm a lean producer, which just basically means that I try to make something happen when people are like, we only have this much. So it's been a really beautiful day, and I think that the people that have been on stage and been present for the event are the people who make this, a day at all. And the stories that they've shared are coming from multiple perspectives, but really touching on the same components, which is community, the importance of community, which I think I've always resonated with that. I remember throwing my own high school graduation party and building out events and bringing people together. So bringing people together, community, cross-border collaborations in general, and really taking yourself out of what you're doing and looking at it from a step back, which I believe is what Dawn is sharing now. And I tried to share from perspectives as well of art and innovation, and the Art of Science and Learning Incubator touches on that, Makers Movement, all of these things. Like you had mentioned, you hadn't heard of the Makers Movement before, and it's really just an amazingly inspiring group of people that just say, we are going to do this. And the reason that I got involved with the startup scene and entrepreneurship outside of the desire to tell stories that mattered was that I identified that the startup scene, if you will, the entrepreneurs are the new economy. They are the ones leading the way in every sector. You can look to somebody that knows something that you don't know if they're an entrepreneur and globally connected. And I think that that's something personally that resonates with me, is our ability to see past our borders, these invisible judgments and lines that we've created. So does that answer?
Yeah. So this event is really what's allowing them to see beyond these borders. So I mean, it kind of starts with you. I know you're humble, but you're making this happen. You're really growing these communities here.
Thank you. Yeah, Brant Cooper as well, who isn't here.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I haven't seen Brant all day.
We got involved. So we.
Australia, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
This is true. He's in Australia and New Zealand that's what he does. Mm-hmm. He goes around and he'll say it. I get to go around and speak to people all over the world, entrepreneurs, and so he's been involved in the startup movement for, I think, his whole time in San Diego. And I met him when looking for speakers for TEDx America's Finest City last year. I co-directed TEDx AFC last year, and our name of the event was actually The New Narrative. So it's interesting because there are these silos, there's these small groups of individuals and organizations that are working on this innovation movement and new economy, if you will, and really telling our story as a city, as an individuals as well. And timing is a big part of things as well. So with TEDx AFC last year, The New Narrative, I've noticed in the past year all of this narrative and telling our story and storytelling and workshops for this and that. And so it's just really buzzy right now. And it's really important, and it always has been. And those who can convey their message are kind of the ones that are going to get ahead in a large way. So if you can't tell your own story, you need to figure out who can help you tell that story. And TED's been an amazing, TED and TEDx have been an amazing empowerment tool for providing that platform and really opening to a larger perspective.
Right.
People will click and see one video because they knew an artist or somebody, right? And then they start perusing the site. Next thing you know, you're in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, I felt like I was in a club. Like you would sit on a plane next to somebody and be like, mention a talk, like, oh, I watched this one talk, and and then, and you look at each other and you're like, you get it.
People in the back ask, who's Ted? And you go,
It's more just like, you get it.
Right.
Like, you get that there's something bigger than you.
Yeah.
I think the main theme that you've obviously been talking about is the narrative. And it's so obvious that learning new things is what captivates you. Is there one thing that you've learned recently that you want to share with everyone that's making a big difference in your life?
Oh, this is a nice question. One that takes some thought, I suppose. Yeah, so I have dabbled in many different industries and skill sets. I've learned video production, I've learned website design. I've learned these tools because they help you get to the point where you can then present your story, right? They're tools. And so I never looked at it as this is my career path. What I've realized now, which I think is very calming for me, at least in some way, is that not everybody is an end product design user, right? Not everybody is saying, this is where I'm at and this is where I want to be. I'm somebody that when I look at where I'm at and what's around me, I say, this is where I'm at and this is what I want to go through. This is what I want to build around me. I want to build context. I want to, connect people so that communication can go on to create something physical and tangible, right? I have a whole book of ideas and products that I'd like to, launch, but really, I think that people say the journey, but that makes it sound like you're driving on a road and you're just like still going somewhere and you know where you're going. Not to say that I don't know where I'm going, but I think that there's a lot of pressure and in saying like, well, what is it that you want to do? What is it that your end result is? And like, if you can define your end result now, then how often are you willing to evolve and change as well?
I know you have to go back and continue running the show, so we're gonna let you go, but how can our viewers find out where promote yourself?
Oh, sure. Let me tell you what I have going on. So I'm using connecteddreamers.com, which is a site that I created. Probably haven't given it as much love as I should have, but www.connected-dreamers.com, and it's really an umbrella for connecting entrepreneurs and creatives, and that was my vision to try to bring that together. So I share stories of others and have a portfolio there as well, and I'm working now with some projects just south of the border and trying to create some more binational events. And then we've got a startup weekend coming up, so working with a couple of the people through this event to collaborate and create something in August that as well would tie in that. Yeah, so it's
we'll be there in August, but can you tell all of our viewers and everyone in San Diego why they should come out to these events and what their contribution is when they're there?
Yeah. So a huge part of this is that I've mentioned the word silos, but a huge part of this is that if you have the same even 2,000 people in the room and they come for months, those conversations become the same conversations, and the information and knowledge that's being shared at some point stifles out. Creativity and growth come from mixing in new ingredients. I think otherwise it all starts to kind of taste the same. So I think the importance is that community and engagement and relationships are key in moving anything forward, but specifically within innovation and startups, which when I say innovation, I really mean just change in future thinking, forward thought. Those who resonate with that are not involved in the startup scene, I think that we're moving towards a place of a broader context and a much more interconnected context. And so I just encourage anybody that feels like they care about the world at large or their life or their place in it, to just take the leap and go to something that isn't necessarily your group or your meetup or your, Friday night normal spot, because adding in those changes and variation is what lets us be an innovative and creative community and individuals as well. So yeah, follow me on at Joyful with Reason if you'd like, and check out Connected Dreamers. Looking forward to future collaborations and having you guys out again. Yeah.